Hello, my name is Justin Suh, and in today's lesson, we're going to be learning about moving between different octaves and kind of how that helps your playing and how you can use it to warm up as well. So to start, I think we understand that from previous lessons that this is the octave key right here. And essentially, when you press the octave key, your notes move up to a different octave. So to kind of test it out, let's start from the low E and then press the octave to see what happens. So as you heard, basically what happened was that the lower E went to a higher B after you press the octave key. And kind of why this is important is because when you're playing different pieces, depending on what style of music you're playing or what your parts require of you, you're going to have certain parts where you need to move between these octaves. So getting familiar with this octave key is pretty important. As an example, this is kind of an excerpt of something that I had to play for our recent concert on the bass clarinet. The part was something like, so as you just heard in the beginning, I had to go from just a regular note like hands off G to the higher G. So how I did that was basically because regular G is you just press no keys, and then higher G you basically press regular C and you press the octave key as well. So that's kind of how I transitioned from the regular G to G in the higher octave. So yeah, that's basically just to help you get familiar with the octave key and how you would use it. And to kind of think about how you would practice using the octave key and what you might do, I would recommend in warm-ups just dedicating a certain amount of time to work on your octaves. And what I mean by this is you can start on lower E here and then press the octave key, move on to the key above lower E, which is, lower F, press the octave key, and then kind of transition between those different notes and slowly work your way up to practice using the octave key. So let's just start with lower E and then transition. And one thing to kind of note when you're doing this is usually the transition when you're going from, the lower note to the higher note when you're pressing the octave key, the transition might not be as smooth as you want it to be. And kind of the reason why that's the case is because at least on the bass clarinet, it's a lot easier to play these middle to lower range notes in comparison to the higher ones. And that's just because you're on a bass clarinet and, its primary purpose is providing those lower tones throughout the piece that you're playing. So kind of one thing to keep in mind is that when you're playing the lower note, you can just use the regular amount of air that you usually use. But as you transition, so the moment at which you hit this octave key right here, you want to push more air. And what I mean by this is not necessarily play louder, but you want the direction and the movement of your air to be faster. And kind of that will help you smoothen out the transition when you're going from these lower to higher notes. So right now, let's just try it out with other notes as well. So starting from E and then moving our way up. So you'll notice this as you practice on the bass clarinet and try it out yourself. But essentially what is happening is we started at an E, we pressed the octave key, so that went to a B. Then we went to F, pressed the octave key, it went to a C. From G, press the octave key, it goes to a higher D. And then we have A, press the octave key, it goes to a higher E. And then you have lower B flat, and then you press the octave key, it goes to an F. And then finally you have C, you press the octave key, it goes to a G. So I think this is kind of the range where you want to practice using your octaves. And I think, again, it's best to do this just in your warm-ups when you're getting warm with your instrument anyway, and you're trying to try out different ranges. I think that's probably the best time to try out your octaves. And as I showed you in the beginning, it's going to come in handy when you have pieces that require you to move between these octaves. So getting comfortable with the octave key is really important. That's basically all I have. And if you're, on this lesson, and if you're struggling with the octave key, what I would recommend is practicing the two notes first. So for example, if I use the example of, lower E again, get comfortable with lower E first, and then practice higher B on its own, and then try the transition between those two notes. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.